Well, it's the Halloween season again, and for any long-time subscribers to this channel, you probably have heard me talk about how I visit the town of Sleepy Hollow, New York every year in October around the season. I started doing this in 2018 as I live in New Jersey, and I discovered it wasn't that far, and I love the story by Washington Irving and always have, and I love the Halloween season, so it was just kind of a thing I came up with. Since then, I have made it a tradition to go every year, and I constantly try to experience new events they have there and new things to do in the town. I've noticed in recent years, it's become a lot more popular to travel there. Not trying to sound like a hipster or anything, but I was doing it before it was cool, I guess. I have noticed in recent years, it's becoming a lot more popular. I've even seen many thumbnails popping up this year and last year on YouTube for guides of the town and people doing vlogs of the town and all. And I know a lot more people show up, which I will touch upon later on in the video. But the point of this video is for me to just give my opinions on the town and pointers for anyone who's looking to visit the town, because I've visited this place many times. Like I said, this is going to be the 8th year that I've visited the town around Halloween. So if you're looking to go to Sleepy Hollow for Halloween season, I have a lot of recommendations and things I can tell you to do, things I can tell you not to do. So I'm going to talk about the food in the area, the Halloween themed attractions and haunts and all that, the markets you can go to, the nature walks, and pretty much everything I can think of. Before I get into all the goodies and I talk about all of my personal experiences with the town and all of my recommendations and so on, I do want to just touch upon something that is a bit of a bummer. So around 2023, I don't know what happened. I don't know if a TikTok person made a video that blew up. I don't know if a celebrity talked about the town, but someone must have turned the public on to Sleepy Hollow as the place to go to at Halloween time. Salem used to be the hot spot on the east side of the US to go to for Halloween, but I know in recent years they got really tired of the crazy crowds that destroyed the town and all. So they've even gone as far as to ban visitors from coming in through the month of October. So my theory is that a lot of the people who used to go to Salem have now migrated to Sleepy Hollow. And it really is like just a giant mosh pit when you go these days in October. From 2018 to 2022, Sleepy Hollow, it got visitors for Halloween, but it wasn't anywhere near what it is today. You could just walk into restaurants and get a seat. You could just walk comfortably through the street and not bump into people all the time. You could hear the sounds of the world around you and not just bustling crowds. I would say, with no exaggeration, the crowds for the Halloween season have multiplied more than 5 times than they were in 2018 to 2022. 2023, something happened and everybody was there, and that's just how it's been every year now. I haven't gone yet this year. I'm going to be going in a couple weeks, but I'm really hoping it's not quite as bad. I'm very happy the town's doing well, as I love Sleepy Hollow, but it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's like, okay, I'm happy they're doing well, but at the same time, it makes visiting them a lot less pleasant, because there's just so many people around. And I'm not saying it's like, oh, it was my special thing and now everyone's copying it. It's kind of a pain in the ass when there's so many people around you all the time. Especially people being loud and rowdy and filming TikTok videos in the middle of the sidewalk and all. So just know that before you visit Sleepy Hollow, it is not very sleepy anymore. Sleepy Hollow, around Halloween time at least, is loud, bustling, crowded, and a little bit hectic. Actually, a lot hectic. There's plenty to enjoy just walking around the town and walking around the surrounding areas, but I think first I'm going to jump into the attractions, the Halloween-themed attractions, because that's why most people go to the town. I think it only makes sense to start with the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze. That's the one they're most well known for, and it's the reason most people go to Sleepy Hollow Town. They'll spend the day in the town, and then that night go to the Blaze. I've been to the Blaze 3 times since 2019. It's definitely a spectacular light show. It's a ton of fun. It's that very classic, nostalgic, kid-friendly kind of Halloween that just really gets you in the mood for the season. It's not scary. It's not full of people jumping out and screaming at you. There's no blood and guts. It's just smiling jack-o'-lanterns and silly sculptures built out of jack-o'-lanterns. Tons of neon lights, nice spooky sounds in the background and all. It's really a great attraction for this time of year. I would definitely say if you want to visit Sleepy Hollow, you should do this at least once. I don't think you need to go over and over and over again unless you really like it or you want to take different people. But I would say if you're into Halloween and you're relatively able to travel to Sleepy Hollow, I would say you have to do it once. A lot of people have kind of started mimicking this whole jack-o'-lantern light show thing because the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze blew up when Martha Stewart had it on her show, and that made the whole world aware of it. So now a lot of people around October try to do something similar, and I don't know if they're all exactly copying the Blaze. I don't even know if the Blaze was the first one to do it, but from the way it seems like the Blaze was very successful because it was shown by Martha Stewart, and then everyone started copying it. It's a good length, though. Again, it's one you can bring the whole family to. So I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's definitely worth doing. They've added stuff in recent years, like a VIP experience where they have a little tavern, a little speakeasy called Gourd and Goblet. They give you a complimentary drink with a complimentary mug you get to keep or whatever. I haven't experienced any of that. I assume it's a lot more money than a regular ticket. So the stuff that's quote unquote free is free, quote unquote. I think they give you a sweet treat for free also, but in general, it's probably a lot more money and you're not actually getting this stuff for free. When I first went to the Blaze in 2019, I believe it was $24 a person. The last time I went, it was about $50 a person. So the price is going up. Just expect to pay a lot of money. If it's something you really want to do, I would say just don't think about the price. Just pay it early, get it out of the way so you're not thinking about it by the time you get to the Blaze, and just have a good time. Because, again, if you're a Halloween nut, I think it's worth it. But just also know that it's just a decoration show. You're not going to get scared. There's no actors or anything like that. It's not a haunted attraction. It's just a light show. It just happens to be the best jack-o'-lantern light show probably in the world. On the simpler end of things, you can just visit the house of Washington Irving, the writer of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, among other tales. His estate is known as Sunnyside, and the first year I went there in 2018, I did the tour of Sunnyside during the day. During day hours, they'll walk you through, they'll show you his study, his bedroom, tell you how life was lived in his house, give you a good history lesson on how important he was at the time and how popular and famous he was at the time, and even let you know who he inspired. It's definitely good for the history buffs and people who just find that time period very cozy or are very interested in Washington Irving specifically. I think it's a lot of fun, but at the same time, it's not for everybody. Again, if you're not someone who's into historical museums and tours, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it's something that would be terribly interesting for little kids, but definitely if you're with a party of adults, as I always am, I say check it out. It's very interesting, and it's one of the more affordable events that you can do in that town. Although, honestly, this was back in 2018, so don't quote me on that, the prices may have gone up. There's also a gift shop there where you can buy all kinds of things, but just let it be known that pretty much all the gift shops within Sleepy Hollow sell the same products. You can basically get all the items that are there at Sunnyside's gift shop at the Phillipsburg Manor gift shop, which is closer to the main part of town, so if you're not looking to travel out too far, it's probably better just to go there. Sunnyside isn't that far from the main town, but it's slightly off the beaten track. It only takes a few minutes to get there if you're driving, but if you go by foot like I did the first year, it'll take you a little while. But at night, if you go to Sunnyside, they have it all done up with Halloween decorations and lights, and outside the front of it, they have a nice little area lit up with pumpkins with a bunch of chairs there. Local storyteller Jonathan Crook is there, and he is a one-man show. He does a marvelous job reenacting the story, reading the whole story of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and making it fun and interactive, allowing you to choose what characters are eating and so on. It's the kind of event I feel that is very kid-friendly, although many kids, especially today, might not find it the most interesting. But I think it's one that kids will look back on fondly. Maybe they don't enjoy it as much during the time, but when they get older, they'll look back and remember this awesome Halloween memory of sitting outside Washington Irving's house and having this guy read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow to them. It might even be the first time they ever hear the story. As an adult, if you're a Halloween fan and a Legend of Sleepy Hollow fan, you'll probably find it very charming, but just let it be known there aren't other actors or anything. He's just a storyteller. It's not like a play. It's a way of bringing back that classic kind of campfire storyteller theme that was so big back in the day. That was, entertainment. Back in the day, there were no movies or anything. You just went into a barn or sat around a campfire and watched someone who was very good at telling stories tell a story. And that's kind of what they're recreating. And afterwards, you do a little walk around Sunnyside, around the property, and you can look inside and see all the jack-o'-lanterns and Halloween decorations they have all over his house. And it's fun. It's nice to see how it's all decorated. And at the end, they have an actor on a horse as the Headless Horseman, which you'll find as a common thing in events in this town. There's almost always someone dressed as the Headless Horseman on the back of a real horse at the end of every event. But it's definitely fun. I don't think it's one of the standout events that you need to go to, but if you want something a little more quiet, a little more charming, and a little more easygoing, where you don't have to walk around or travel too far to get to it or anything, I think this is a good one. Just drive over there. Like I said, it only takes a few minutes from the main part of town. There's good parking. You can just sit comfortably, sip some hot cider or something, and just listen to this tale. It's a nice sleepy way to end the day, especially since the town has gotten so hectic. It's kind of nice to just relax at night and have somebody tell you an entertaining story. This one also is on the more affordable end of events. But if you want something much more alive and booming and entertaining and fun that everybody will probably enjoy, I cannot recommend enough. You need to do the Sleepy Hollow Hayride. Now, where to find these events and reserve tickets for them can be confusing because there's Historic Hudson Valley, which is a website you can join and become a member and get discounts on some of the tickets. And they handle some of it, but then some of it is done on the Sleepy Hollow Tarrytown website. And there's some overlap with some of the events. But the Hayride, I believe, is never on the Historic Hudson Valley website, that's the one I used in earlier years, so I never came upon it. You have to go to the Sleepy Hollow Tarrytown website to find the Hayride tickets. At least that's how it was a couple years ago. In October of 2023, I went to the Hayride. I was told the year before by a woman at a restaurant while I was there that was a must-do, because we were both big fans of the town and loved going to all the events. And she said, if I'm a Halloween fan and I love Sleepy Hollow, I need to go to the Hayride. So the next year, I knew we were definitely going to the Hayride. But at first, we almost didn't, because there was 2 events I could have done one night. There was one called Hulda's Night, which there's a local woman who was believed to be a witch back in the day named Hulda. And this was kind of a tour where you start at her grave in Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, then you walk through the woods, and, an actor playing her is at the end of the trail. And you get to a section where actually we found it once when we were just walking through the woods. We found a bunch of weird seats carved out of tree trunks. And it seemed like some weird sacrificial altar or something. But it's actually for this event. And this event usually posts a little later than the other ones on the website. But if you want to do Headless Night, that one does pop up a bit later, but they do it every year. It's a little harder to find the tickets than some of the other events. I almost did that and Lyndhurst After Dark, which is a tour of Lyndhurst Manor at nighttime where they do it all up with Halloween decorations. And I ended up not doing that because then I was like, oh yeah, the hayride. The hayride was happening the same night, and the hayride comes with a block party. So that's 2 events just like the other 2, but it's the price of one event. So you're getting 2 very big events for the price of one, whereas the other 2, I'm sure the Headless Night is cool. I want to try that sometime. And I actually am doing Lyndhurst After Dark this year, so I will experience that in a couple weeks, and then I'll know if that's any good or not. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it here. But I went with the hayride instead, because I'm like, hey, you get a block party and you get the hayride, which I've been told is amazing. So that's the one to go with. So yeah, before the hayride, you can show up for the block party, which opens at some point, and you are allowed to stay at the block party as long as you want. You can show up as soon as they start it, and you can leave as soon as they close it, late at night. There's food trucks in there, which you still have to pay for the food trucks, but there's food in there. They're playing Halloween music. There's people in costumes. There's people dancing. It's a good time. It's a lot of fun. It's a very spooky, good seasonal atmosphere to get yourself in, to really get you in the mood for the Halloween season. But at some point when your tickets are up, and your time is up to go on the hayride, you line up at the Sleepy Hollow Firehouse. And I love that the Sleepy Hollow fire trucks are all orange and black and have the Headless Horseman on them. The whole firehouse is like colored orange and black. And you walk through a little line they have weaving around inside the firehouse. There's Halloween decorations up and all, until you can get on your hayride, which is like a giant tractor on the back of a truck. Just, the bed's just covered in hay, and it seats a lot of people. And you get on and you drive through downtown Sleepy Hollow. You drive all the way to Rockefeller State Park, where you go into the woods. For years, we always saw them setting up all this stuff in the woods, because we always take a big walk in Rockefeller State Park. And we always saw all these little rooms and stuff set up and all these little props being set up. And we always knew this is for the hayride, but I never knew when they did it. So you go through there. And that's where you get all your big scares. You get, the people dressed like Michael Myers and Pennywise and Leatherface and all that, screaming and coming after you. You have a bunch of, people acting as characters, Beetlejuice and stuff. And also stuff that's not based on movies, just like scary clowns or murderers, chainsaw-wielding maniacs and stuff, zombies. And it's a ton of fun with the lighting and the darkness of the night, the cool, crisp October air. It's a really nice, perfect setting for it. And they do a great job. At least the party I was with, everyone in that truck was having a great time. We were all laughing and joking, and no kid was too traumatized. And we were all just having a good time. Actors, like many hayrides, will jump up onto the bed and kind of shake it and get it right up in your ear and kind of scare you and all. But it's done really well. It's a ton of fun. And then after that, you go through Sleepy Hollow Cemetery for a bit as you turn up in Rockefeller State Park to a higher road. And when you come out, you're in the neighborhoods of Sleepy Hollow. So these are also areas near Rockefeller State Park that I walk around during the day many times. When you come out at night, it's hard to describe how magical it is, but it's not even just the employees who are part of it. There's people who live in town who get so into it. As it is, every house is totally decked out for Halloween, insane decorations, You have all the actors still coming by and scaring you, but then you also have people in town, just people who live there, walking up and screaming boo, or smacking the side of the truck really hard and screaming, and everyone's laughing and having a great time. There was even a resident there who was on her front porch in full Wicked Witch of the West makeup and outfit, doing a voice, stirring a cauldron, and talking to all of us like she was one of the actresses in the whole performance. But she wasn't. She's just a resident who gets so into it. And there was just this feeling of camaraderie that, like, everyone here was coming together over our love for the Halloween season. Like, it doesn't matter how different everyone might be normally. It doesn't matter how much we might not agree on other things, how much maybe these people wouldn't get along in a normal setting. On this night, everybody doesn't care about all that trivial crap. We throw all that BS away, and everyone's just having a good time because we all love the Halloween season. Everyone's screaming, everyone's laughing, everyone's just having a great time. And it was honestly probably the most magical experience I had in Sleepy Hollow. It's an amazing attraction. And I wouldn't say it's like the best haunted hayride attraction. You know, there's some crazy haunted hayride attractions and that go to haunted houses and corn mazes and all this stuff. This one is just the hayride. It goes through a lot of locations, but for something that's just put together by the town, and the fact that everyone in the town gets so into it and it's such a big celebration that everybody's part of, makes it feel so special. It was without a doubt, I don't have to think twice, it was without a doubt my favorite experience in Sleepy Hollow as far as events go. The first year I went there in 2018, I did a fantastic haunting experience that they used to do at Phillipsburg Manor at night that was called Horseman's Hollow. The Horseman's Hollow was a great haunted attraction. You would walk through all of the barns and little buildings that were on the property of Phillipsburg Manor. They'd all be done up in different styles. There was one that was just like the skeleton house where the walls are made out of bones and skulls, and there's people in creepy skeleton costumes coming out from in between the bones and grabbing you. There's crazy lighting and strobe lights and everything. One of the barns was this weird science experiment barn where humans and animals were being spliced together. So you had all these creepy, eerie looking human animal hybrid monsters, like a weird rabbit person and a big creepy pig woman who would hit on people who came through. But they had really gruesome looking makeup. Then they had one that was like a wrecked ship, and you're walking through it and there's all these ghost pirates, and there's a big tank at some point that looks like it's full of water, and there's this creepy, monstrous looking but also beautiful mermaid sitting in there. There's a slaughterhouse where it's people being slaughtered, and there's a guy chopped up on a table where, you know, his guts are everywhere, but the bottom half of him is underneath the table, obviously, but the effects are really good. So if you love that kind of stuff, they had plenty of that. And of course, at the end of the event, there was a guy dressed as Headless Horseman on the back of a horse. There were other parts, but honestly, that was so many years ago now, I don't even remember the whole thing. I just remember really, really liking it. You had plenty of your average zombies walking around. Even in between each of the buildings when you're walking outside, it's all decorated. And there's still actors walking around grabbing you and screaming at you and startling you. It was a really good haunted attraction. The special effects were top notch. Like, a lot of the makeup and prosthetics and everything were like Hollywood level quality. The sad thing though is, ever since the pandemic, Horseman's Hollow couldn't afford to exist anymore, and they've never come back. They went away in 2020, and I remember at the time just thinking, oh, it's because of the pandemic, you know, everything was closed that year. I can't wait till they come back. I need to go back there at some point. 2021, I was thinking, okay, it's probably, I guess, still the pandemic, even though, you know, that's a whole other discussion, but people were still closing things that year. But by the time 2022 rolled around, and especially 2023, I was like, I think Horseman's Hollow is just gone. And last year they put a new event in that location at night, just letting you know Horseman's Hollow is never coming back, which is really sad because I absolutely loved that attraction. After the hayride, that was my favorite attraction. I put both of those above the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze. And that's not to sell the Blaze short. The Blaze is amazing. As I said, I think it's mandatory for anyone who likes Sleepy Hollow and loves Halloween. But Horseman's Hollow was really something special, and they've never brought it back. It really bothers me too, because when I was there, I went to the gift shop and I got a mug, a Horseman's Hollow mug. And I loved that mug. It was like this black, smooth kind of exterior with the creepy Horseman's Hollow font on the outside. And then it was bright red, glossy on the inside. And that was like my cider mug for a while. But at some point when I moved, somehow somebody threw that mug out and it just got trashed. And I always wanted to get it back. I'm like, oh, next year I'll go to the gift shop and get it back. And again, in 2020, I went to the gift shop and asked them if they had it. And they said, no, not this year. And I didn't realize that meant it's done. You're never getting that mug ever again. So not only can I not experience the event ever again, but I can't get the mug ever again. And there's been a new haunt in town. It's something indoors. I don't know exactly I forget exactly what the name is. One year their theme was like the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. I have heard from reviews online that it's really bad. It seems to be notoriously bad. And most people who say it's really bad say Horseman's Hollow was way better and they wish that was back instead of the new one. So I'm not trying to, just dump on this one. Maybe it's better I don't know the name of it because then I'm not directly, dumping on somebody. But I do think that's a shame. I don't really have much of an interest in seeing it if it's that inferior to Horseman's Hollow. I mean, hell, they do one at Brookdale College in New Jersey that I went to a few years ago with a bunch of friends. And, it's a college one. It's not going to be the greatest haunted house you ever went to, but it was fun. It was a good time. And it was like 1,000,000 times cheaper than anything at Sleepy Hollow. So why would I go to a really expensive haunted attraction that's run worse and probably not much better quality than this charming one put together by students and faculty at Brookdale Community College? So unfortunately, that seems to be the only option really for a haunted attraction in Sleepy Hollow anymore. If you are in the tri-state area though, Pennsylvania has a ton of haunted attractions. I haven't been to any of them, but I hear Pennhurst Asylum. I've heard for years that one's really good. I've heard Reaper's Revenge is really good. I would recommend in New Jersey, Flemington, New Jersey, Farm of Horrors. It's held at Schaefer Farms in Flemington. I went there a few years ago with a couple friends, and it's a lot of fun, honestly. You do multiple hay rides. You go through a haunted house. You go through just haunted wooded areas. You go through a corn maze. You get a lot of bang for your buck, and it's got very high production value. There's even a point where a truck starts chasing your tractor and it starts gaining on you. Or at least the year I went there was. They call them Max, Mad Max. And then you even pull up to a metal concert by a demonic rock band and all. And it's really cool. It was a really good one, but that's New Jersey. It's not Sleepy Hollow, so we're not going to dwell on it for too long. But if you're in that general area and you want to go to a good haunted attraction, I would say go to that one. Go to Farm of Horrors at Schaefer Farms in Flemington, New Jersey. It's definitely worth a visit. They do a different theme every year. So it's not going to be the same one that I went to 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever that was, but it's a guaranteed good time. You also end up in a little farmer's market gift store at the end where you can get all kinds of harvest treats and stuff. I'm really hoping they bring back Horseman's Hollow in some shape or form, in some location in the future, even if it can't be in Phillipsburg Manor, because now Phillipsburg Manor is home to Twilight Village. Twilight Village was a new event in 2024. I went last year on its first year. I don't know how much it's going to change. They are doing it again this year. But when I went to it last year, I will say the price is rather high. And even though it is very charming and I did have a good time and I did like it, I think it needs improvement. I think there's just not quite enough there. You don't feel like you're getting what you pay for. They hand you a free apple cider donut on your way in, and that's the only free thing you're really gonna get. I mean, there's performers. There was like a little band playing Halloween-themed songs, like Sally's song from Nightmare Before Christmas and stuff. They only did about 5 or 6 songs just over and over again, but it's nice. They also have fire jugglers, guys doing tricks with fire. They're telling jokes. They're good, you know. They have little shops set up, like just a few, only about like 3 or 4 when you first come in. I think they had fortune tellers. In a barn you go into, there's a guy who's actually friends with the one who does the stories in Irving's Legend, the event I already talked about. This is a different guy, but he's friends with him. And he makes jokes about how he's the second-rate version of his friend. But he tells you stories. He reads mostly Washington Irving stories, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Rip Van Winkle. And he's fun, he's entertaining, but he only tells about 3 stories, maybe 4. And he just recycles them over and over again. And then at the end, there's like a little section where there's games like hacky sack and stuff set up, and a couple more little gift stands, like shop stands, and some food you can buy. It's about $10 for a can of beer or cider, just to give you an idea of what the prices are going to be like. We're talking like almost Ren Fair prices. Not quite that high, but you know, almost. And that's about it. They also had a performer done up like a ghost on stilts, dancing around, walking around. And then there's a point where you can stand by a fenced-in area and watch, again, someone dressed as the Headless Horseman on a horse ride around and, you know, run around and not really do tricks, but just kind of ride around, then come up and, you know, maybe give you a high five or give you a photo opportunity. And I know it sounds like I just listed a lot of stuff, but when you're actually there, you'll realize you can go through it pretty fast. Especially since all of the attractions within there, they really just kind of recycle the same 5 to 10 minute act over and over again. It feels like for the price you pay, there should just be a little more there. I don't know what they could add. I think maybe some more characters just walking around. They don't really have characters now. I was expecting, you know, some Halloweenish kind of characters to like meet with and all, and maybe have them sing or dance or tell you their stories, that's something they said on the website, that like all these, you know, ghouls and stuff would tell you their stories about when they were alive or whatever. And there was none of that, to be honest. It's very good at like trying to recreate like a period piece setting. Like it's kind of like an early mid 1800s, you know, New York country kind of style, but it doesn't really lean into the supernatural and all that, Halloween that much. I mean, it does, but it's not quite where it needs to be. I think it needs more work. Again, I don't know how they're going to change it this year, if at all, but I do think it needs to have maybe just even like 2 more performers than it did last year. Like it just needs a little more stuff, and to really be fleshed out. Because I do feel like you finish everything pretty quick, and then you're just kind of wandering around thinking like, well, what do I do now? That you pretty quickly reach the, well, what do I do now moment. The longest thing you'll do there is listen to the stories. Other than that, like you watch the fire show in like 5 to 10 minutes. You hear the band playing the same songs all night. Even the storytelling, I don't think it goes over 20 minutes. And when you walk around, get some food, get some drinks, watch the Headless Horseman run around, you're basically done with everything by the time it's like 35, 40 minutes. But this isn't like a haunted attraction or a light show or anything. This is just kind of billed as like an experience, an environment you can go and just hang out in. And I just think it needs a little bit more. It needs a bit more to get where it needs to be. Maybe it needs like a speakeasy kind of thing, like a little tavern you can go into and order drinks and kind of have like actors, like the barkeeper is an actor or something, like a period piece actor or an undead person or whatever. It needs a little more. That's all I'll say. It's a good idea. I just don't think it's fully fleshed out yet. And even though I did like it, I am a little bitter towards it because it seems like an unfinished idea. And it's what took over Phillipsburg Manor, where Horseman's Hollow used to be. And I know the people responsible for Twilight Village did not kill Horseman's Hollow and steal Phillipsburg Manor from them. They put an event at Phillipsburg Manor because Horseman's Hollow died and there was nothing going on there. And it's such a big and popular location there, you might as well use it for something. But I would say Twilight Village, if you're very interested, sure, go in, but it is definitely not one of like the top recommendations I would give. As I stated before, I will be checking out Lyndhurst After Dark this year. And as I also said, I did the Blaze on 2 other occasions after the first time I did it. So I've done quite a few events in Sleepy Hollow at this point. They do plenty of other events I haven't done yet. Spirits of Sleepy Hollow Country, the magic show, is supposed to be phenomenal. People say it's really good. Tickets are very expensive for that one, though. Seats are like $80 to $90. And I'm just not really ready to spend that kind of money after all the traveling and food and everything. It's already an expensive day. I don't stay over in Sleepy Hollow because I can get there in like an hour and 20 minutes from where I live. I don't bother renting a hotel or anything. And a lot of times I go with my dog Fred, so I don't get a place to sleep. I just go over there for the day. Just to let you know, actually, all the events I mentioned before, unfortunately, dogs are not allowed. I don't think any of the events allow dogs. But a lot of times I'll go one day of the year with my dog and then one day without him and do events. This year, we're just going the one day. But yeah, this magic show is supposed to be really good. So if you love magic shows, I would say definitely check that one out. It's one of the most consistent and highly rated events there. But I'm just not willing to pay that kind of money, really. I'd have to be with a party that was like really, really psyched for the magic show. So it'd be like, okay, I can go with this group because this group really specifically loves magic shows. Also, the Tarrytown Music Hall is apparently haunted and they do ghost tours. I've never tried those. I would like to at some point, but I've never done it myself. I've already mentioned that I haven't done Hulda's Night, which is the witch walk. And they also do a lot of cemetery tours. I never took a proper cemetery tour, although I did get little mini tours of the Old Dutch Church and the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. I got a little tour of some of the graves, including one of the Van Tassels, who are apparently a real family. And they said they actually have gotten Van Tassel descendants visiting the town before, which is awesome to think. For anyone who doesn't know, Katrina Van Tassel is the main love interest of Brom Bones and Ichabod Crane in The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Kind of crazy to think that he just based them on a real family that actually existed at the time. But yeah, I saw the Van Tassel grave, I saw Hulda's grave, the supposed witch, and heard her whole story and all. So I got like a little mini tour of the cemetery. They even said there was a grave that's like a Hessian soldier that some believe was the inspiration for the Headless Horseman. But they do proper cemetery tours. During the day they do them, but then at night they do like these cool, candlelit, spooky tours. And they even do like a murder tour where they tell you about like crooked, criminal, macabre things that happen with some of the people in the tour. And that one is said to not bring kids to because some of the subject matter is really grim. But yeah, they do a lot of those tours, and Sleepy Hollow Cemetery is freaking gigantic. Like, you see it in town by the old Dutch church, and you think like, oh yeah, it looks pretty big. But man, it stretches all the way through Rockefeller State Park, like deep into the park. It's really big. I couldn't believe that the cemetery I saw in Rockefeller State Park was the same cemetery in the center of town. There's also another new event. I think it might be new this year. Maybe they did it last year. During the day around Phillipsburg Manor, that's like a whodunit murder mystery kind of thing where you're trying to solve the mystery of Ichabod Crane fleeing town or dying and the Headless Horseman being the one to do it. I've never done that one. As I said, I think it's brand new, so I can't tell you if it's good or not. But getting away from the big Halloween events, if you're there during the day before you do an event or something and you just want to go shopping, there's plenty of markets to go to. The Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown Farmers Market at Wiley Swamp, which, don't worry, it's not that swampy. It's actually a beautiful park. That's going on every day until, I believe, 2 p.m. And there's some great places there. Mead Farms is one of them. You can get home-baked pies, homemade jams, fresh produce. There's like barbecue trucks and all kinds of food options and stuff. It's a great farmer's market, very big wrap around the whole park, vendors everywhere. Definitely one I always try to hit up every year when I go there. And usually about 2 or more weekends in October, they do the Sleepy Hollow Street Fair, where Beekman Street, which is where they do the block party for the hayride, has all these tents outside and all these vendors, and there's just all this merchandise being sold. It could be something from like just a regular clothes place or collectibles, vintage collectibles, action figures, whatever, records, and then also just like Halloween memorabilia, just places completely dedicated to horror and Halloween. There's even like local authors, like horror authors, who will sell their new novels there and stuff. It's really fun. It's really cool. There's no admission to get into it. You can just walk in, and obviously you have to pay for anything you buy, but you're also on Beekman Street with all these food options around you and stuff. So it gets very crowded, but that's to be expected these days in Sleepy Hollow. But it's worth checking out. I think it's definitely worth checking out if you're in town. It's something to do during the day. And even though those are the two big ones with lots of vendors, a lot of places in town also very frequently during the season do sales. There's churches do sales, which also have like little events for kids, little games set up for kids and stuff. The library does sales. There's an antique store in Tarrytown called Pretty Funny Vintage, which is very cute and worth checking out. So there's definitely a lot of fun little sales going on, many of which are like Halloween themed. So definitely recommend just walking the streets and seeing what you find, maybe reading up online about which ones are happening and where. Don't expect anything too big from, the church sales and stuff, but if you just like basically browsing garage sales and tag sales and flea markets and finding those rare finds, you'll enjoy it. But a very important thing about visiting a place for a day is, where are you going to eat? Well, we usually every year, we tend to want appropriate food when we're there. I know not everybody does, but usually we agree that we like not only like more fall harvesty kind of food. Not necessarily always fall harvesty, but we want like tavern food, kind of like hearty, meaty kind of stuff that maybe people would have eaten that in that area that time of year. Obviously not exactly, because cuisine today is so different. But you want some more traditional tavern food. That's what I usually want when I'm there. A hearty thing that's satisfying on a crisp fall night. Within the first year, we discovered this place, Horse Feathers, which I loved. It's this little tavern. It decorates for Halloween. You got all the little autumn leaf garland all over the bar and orange lights and little pumpkins and stuff. It's a nice dimly lit little bar on the inside, tavern on the inside, very old fashioned looking, old books all over the walls. And then outside they have a nice little sidewalk area with a bunch of tables. You used to be able to just walk in, get a table inside or out, get a little bite to eat, get something to drink. The Doc's pumpkin cider was my personal favorite. They put a little cinnamon around the lip of the glass, and it's just delicious on an autumn afternoon. And it was kind of like our little place. Like, we just went there every year. Sometimes you'd come in and there'd be like a 20-minute wait, which they'd tell you 20 minutes, but you'd only wait about 10 or 15 minutes and then they'd seat you. And it was fine. And then in 2023, suddenly they told us there was an hour wait. And we waited for it, and that ended up being the last time we ever ate there, because since then, in 2024, or that was 2023, I think I said 2024, it was 2023. In 2024, we didn't get to eat there, because there was a line going down the road, like way down the block, past multiple buildings, before the restaurant even opened. I believe they opened at 11 a.m. and at 10, or maybe they opened at 12 and at 11, whatever, like a half hour before they opened or so, there was this line going down the street. And if you wanted to get there for lunch or dinner, and this actually happened for dinner the year before that, so we didn't do dinner there. But if you wanted to get lunch or dinner or whatever, you had to wait in the line for 2 hours just to get your name on the list. And I don't even know how long you have to wait after that. So you're waiting over 2 hours, and I absolutely love Horse Feathers. I love their food. Their baby back ribs are delicious. They're amazing. Their burgers are good. Their sandwiches are good. Their turkey dinner is great. But it is, it's just a tavern. You're not eating at like the highest end restaurant you could possibly eat at. It's just a little tavern. But you're waiting like almost 3 hours just to get seated. Then when you actually have to wait for your food, get your food, eat it, you're probably there for like 3.5 or 4 hours. And that's like almost all of your time in Sleepy Hollow. If I'm visiting Sleepy Hollow for one day, I don't want to spend 2 of those hours just standing in a line. So unfortunately, I can't eat at Horse Feathers anymore. It was my thing. It was like our little thing. We found this place. We always just got right in. It was the old reliable one. We went there for most meals for most of the years we went there. But now that everyone and their mother goes to Sleepy Hollow for whatever reason, you cannot get seated in October. And they don't take reservations in the month of October because they have so much walk-in business. I'm very glad that they're doing so well because I love Horse Feathers. It's just a bummer though because I can't eat it. And I really like to eat there. I do have to say also, they're very weird about seating because they usually have most of the patio empty. The tables aren't filled and they're just not seating people. Like they just keep making people wait. It's like, when you got all these open tables, you should just ask the line, like, hey, who wants to eat outside? And then get those people seated first. It just seems like they just have, out of like 10 or 12 tables outside, they have like 2 or 3 seated at a time, and the rest are all just left empty for hours. I don't understand it. But over the years, we tried other places too. The first year, we had dinner at the Beacon Ale House, which we thought would be a similar kind of thing, but they actually specialize more in pizza. We got burgers when we went there, but it has this nice rustic interior, again, with all the really old books on the shelves. The walls are kind of just made out of bookshelves, and you have all these old-fashioned books. So it's definitely the right mood, the right setting. It's just not the type of food I was looking for. But if you're a pizza junkie and you want to go there and just eat some pizza, I'd say that's probably the place to go. The only problem is they're kind of backed up all the time too now. Not quite as bad as Horse Feathers, but close. It just seems like you're not allowed to eat anywhere in Sleepy Hollow. In earlier years, the only reason I didn't go to a restaurant called Bridgeview Tavern, which is at the end of Beekman Street right on the Hudson, was because the wait times were so long. But now in recent years, it's no worse than any other place in town. So, I don't know, maybe sometime I'll even finally try them. We were able to get into a bar called Tap last year, after disappointingly not being able to get into Horse Feathers. But once we got into there, a line formed outside too. So we actually just happened to walk in just in time. And while I'm not saying anything bad about Tap, which the name is very creative because, you know, it's a bar on tap, but it's also spelled like the Tappan Zee Bridge, which is right by there. A lot of people call the Tappan Zee Bridge the Tap. But it could have just been the server we had or whatever, but we didn't get a great experience. We were seated on the seat right by the window, the table right by the window. So like people waiting online are standing right there as you're eating. I know they can't control that. You just get whatever thing's available. But the waiter really wasn't checking up on us. It took us forever to put our orders in. When we got the food, it was all done wrong. Like they gave us the wrong stuff. It wasn't cooked the way we asked for it and everything. The prices were more expensive than Horse Feathers. The same drinks were like considerably more expensive here than they were at Horse Feathers. So it just wasn't like the greatest experience. I didn't find the food to be particularly special or anything. Again, it might have just been a bad visit. I don't want to, just dump on this place. But yeah, they filled out also. So it just seems like anything that's like tavern food. I guess a lot of people go there with the same idea as me. They want tavern food when they go there. So it filled it pretty quick. It's kind of hard to eat anything like, but yeah, the food, basically what I'm getting to is, if you're visiting Sleepy Hollow now, two or 3 years ago, I would recommend Horse Feathers and all that. But now I would say, just drive to a neighboring town. Don't eat in Tarrytown or Sleepy Hollow. It's going to waste your whole day. There's plenty of restaurants. There's even taverns. There's barbecue places that are just like 9, 10, 15 minutes away. Just drive to those, get something to eat there, and then come back to Sleepy Hollow. That's what I'm going to do this year because unfortunately just eating there really isn't a possibility anymore. It's just too packed, and every restaurant just gets swarmed with people, just mobs of people. And again, like you have to wait in line for hours and hours. You're not allowed to walk away and get called. You have to physically stand there. And to me, that's just not how I want to spend my time in Sleepy Hollow. If they said you're on the waiting list, we'll call you when, you're 10 minutes before we're going to seat you, that would be fine. Because then you could walk around that area. Even if it's 2 hours, you could walk around Beekman Street and, all around Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown in that area. There's plenty of shops, plenty of stuff to see. It's a good time. So that would be fine. But the fact that they make you stand in line is just like, that's not how I want to spend my time at Sleepy Hollow. A good way to spend your time in Sleepy Hollow, though, if you like long walks, is to go on nature walks in Rockefeller State Park. I did mention that earlier in this video, and that is a must every year. I love going to Rockefeller State Park. We started off doing quite a short walk until we started exploring side paths and realized this place is massive. Rockefeller State Park stretches over so much land. It's so full of lush forests, beautiful landscapes, fields, old structures, old farmland that isn't used anymore, old stone overpass bridges you can go underneath and over. And you'll even find like currently operational farmland and stuff along the way too. It's so big, it's so vast. You can walk through there for hours and not see it all. You could probably walk through there for days and not see it all. Many a time we have gone through there for 3 or more hour long walks, and it almost doesn't even feel like it because it's such a beautiful place and there's so many interesting things to see, and there's so many different parts of it and so many different like uphill, downhill variation in all of the walk that you almost don't even feel like you're just walking through the same location over and over again. There's really beautiful parts where you're walking along a river and there's a big stone bridge that goes over the river. A personal quest we've had for years that we wanted to do was to find Raven Rock. So Raven Rock or Raven's Rock, anyone who knows the legend of Sleepy Hollow knows there's a moment in the book where the old wives of Sleepy Hollow, when Ichabod Crane goes to talk to them at night and hear their stories, and when he's sitting on the porch with Brom Bones and the other men, and they're telling their stories of ghosts. One of the stories that's always told to him is the legend of Raven Rock, about the lady in white who hid in the rock shaped like a raven to shield herself from a snowstorm, but she died in it, and then on cold, windy nights, you can hear her wailing and crying coming from the rock. There's actually 3 spirits, all female, who are said to haunt that. One, I believe, is a Native American. One is the lady in white. I don't remember what the other one is. But it's a real location. And it's in Rockefeller State Park. So for years, we've been trying to find Raven Rock. And there was a point where we really thought we knew where it was, and we thought we were right by it, and we couldn't find it. Until we realized we were looking in the completely wrong place. So the first year we looked for it, we got directions off the internet, but they were very vague. They were like, go north, go south, go north, go east. They weren't really that helpful. They didn't tell you the name of trails or anything like that. It was just like, enter where there's a barn on this street, and then just go here, go there, go there, go there. And it didn't line up. There were times you get the points where it tells you to make a turn that doesn't exist and all. So we just got lost. And then later years, we kind of explored a different part of Rockefeller State Park and ended up finding the part I was talking about before with the river and the big stone bridge. Or when you go over the stone bridge, there was a sign before it, a map, and it labels one of the trails there as RR. So it lists one of the things near there as in Rockefeller State Park as Raven's Rock on the map. So when we saw the RR trail, we assumed, oh, that must be Raven Rock. And we were like, oh, wow, we're actually not far from it. Let's go find it. And we couldn't find it. Only the next year to come by and be like, oh, wait, how did we not notice this? It points out Raven's Rock on the map, and it's nowhere near us. So I've gotten proper instructions now. And from what I've read, it's a 6-mile hike. The closest you can possibly. You have to park at a special spot to get there as fast as possible. And from that spot, you hike 6 miles to there and 6 miles back. So that's 12 miles of walking in one day just to get to this dumb rock that somehow Ichabod Crane just passed on his way home from the party at the Van Tassel Manor. Although in the Rabbit Ears video version narrated by Glenn Close that I did a whole video about years ago that I used to watch as a kid, the images of the Van Tassel Manor were based on Van Cortlandt Manor, where they have the great jack-o'-lantern blaze. So if that's what the Van Tassel Manor was always meant to be based on, then actually he could have passed through there. If he was going to the Sleepy Hollow Schoolhouse from Van Cortlandt Manor, he would have gone through Rock. Because you got to think all the streets that are there now wouldn't exist. They probably all just went through Rockefeller State Park. He might have passed it, but anyway, that's a lot of walking for one day. 12 miles. It's doable. We usually probably walk around 9 or 10, probably more around 8 or 9 miles when we're there anyway. If you round up all day of walking, which you don't have to walk that much when you visit there. That's just what we like to do. But we do walk quite a lot. But that is a lot. 12 is like your feet are gonna hurt. You're probably gonna get some chafing, and that's gonna be your entire day. Like you got to bring food to eat as a picnic on the walk. You're not going to be able to do much else in town that day. Your whole day, your reason for going is finding Raven Rock. So maybe next year we'll do a day where, I'll bring Fred and my dog and we'll, just try to find Raven Rock and finally do that. But even if you're not looking for Raven Rock, even if you're not a psycho trying to find Raven Rock, there's so much to enjoy in Rockefeller State Park. I would definitely recommend walking through it. There's very short trails, so you don't have to go crazy. I just prefer to go crazy. There are some things. So when you get near the cemetery, there's something that bothers me. There's this really nice old, I don't know what it is, an old storage house or whatever, but it's this old stone building and a tiny little thing. But it's so old, it's so rustic and nice looking. But a few years ago, someone spray painted all over it. And the first time it ever got spray painted on, they washed it off. But the second time it got spray painted, they've just left it for the past few years. And I feel like for a town that's so big on preserving their history and preserving, what the town looked like back in the day, it's really a shame for such a historic town to just leave that vandalism there. So I really hope someone washed it off since last year, but I don't think they did. But yeah, if Rockefeller State Park is too big for you, or you do a short trail in Rockefeller State Park, but you still want to get some other walking in, Sleepy Hollow Cemetery in town by the Old Dutch Church, if you enter through there and just start walking along the trails in there's some very long trails. And it's a beautiful cemetery, especially around fall when all the leaves are falling. If you're there, in the afternoon, it's kind of sunset. You got this nice orange glow over the whole cemetery. It's a very nice place to walk. Just to let you know, in Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown as a whole, especially Sleepy Hollow, if you are going to walk, if you are a walker and you do want to walk through all the neighborhoods and stuff, residential neighborhoods, which I would recommend because people go crazy with the Halloween decorations there. It's actually really fun just to walk around and look at all of the houses that are decorated for Halloween. I mean, there's no shortage of things to get you in the Halloween spirit in that town. But just a warning, there's a lot of steep hills. The town is kind of a really steep drop to the Hudson River. So there's a lot of steep up and down walking you're going to be doing. You will get a workout. People who live there must have legs of steel because that you're doing a lot of, mountain climbing work. Obviously, it's not like mountain climbing, but you're going up steep streets. It's a lot of walking. Speaking of walking, the one big event they're known for that I've never gone to is the Sleepy Hollow Halloween Parade. So usually the weekend right before Halloween, they'll do the Halloween Parade. I think they used to always do it on Halloween itself, but then in recent years they started doing it on the weekend closest to Halloween. I could be wrong about that. But this year they're doing it the weekend before Halloween. I've never gone to it. Every year I always consider maybe I'll go, but I just always think with how packed that town is, how annoyingly packed it is in recent years, just any day in October, I can't even imagine how packed it's going to be the day of the parade. It must be impossible to get parking, or not even just to get parking. It must be impossible to drive into the town. It must take 45 minutes to an hour just to drive down the main street to get to a parking lot. But I would one day love to see the parade because, I've been going to Sleepy Hollow since 2018 every single year, usually 2 times in that season. So I've gone so many times. It's really become such a core part of Halloween season for me, my personal Halloween season as an adult. So one day I would love to see the parade, but I don't know. I never know about going in. It's always a little iffy, and then when the week comes, I'm kind of like, not this year. But that is something to, think about it. That's a big event. That's one of the biggest events they do. I just have no personal experience with it, so I can't tell you how worth it or not worth it might be. But yeah, I absolutely love this town. I love Sleepy Hollow so much, even though it's gotten really, really popular in the past few years, and everyone in the world goes there now, and it's definitely a lot more annoying. You know, it's not really Sleepy Hollow anymore. It's Always Awake Hollow. There's just constant noise and bumping shoulders, and again, people recording TikToks. You can't get into restaurants. You can't walk down streets. Like, the main area of town is just so congested now. Prices are going up. Everything is, I don't want to say everything's worse, but everything is worse. You know, I've 2018, 2019, that was pre-pandemic. It was great. During the pandemic, obviously, pandemic was horrible, but at least it meant there was nobody in town. So there was still, you know, relatively a good deal of people there, but it really just seems like from 2023 and on, it just keeps getting worse and worse. I don't know about this year. We'll see. I'll find out in 2 weeks when I go there. Or I don't know when this is getting posted. It might be like 1 week from when this is posted or whatever. But yeah, I still think if you love Halloween, this is a must. Visiting Sleepy Hollow is a must. I would say the Great Jack-O-Lantern Blaze is a must. I would say definitely the Sleepy Hollow Hayride is a must. So I would say, honestly, if you live nearby and you can just drive there, one weekend go and do the Hayride and one weekend go and do the Blaze. If you're from far away, I would say stay 2 nights and just one night do one night do the other. If you are interested in visiting, hopefully this video helped you and helped you narrow down what you want to do when you go there. Hopefully you found it helpful or just maybe entertaining, but I could go on and on about my experiences at Sleepy Hollow. Like I've said, I've gone there so many times now. This is going to be the 8th year I've visited there. So I just wanted to give it my 2 cents, because I know a lot of people are making these videos now talking about visiting Sleepy Hollow. I haven't watched any of them. Most of the popular ones seem to be very attractive women in the thumbnails vlogging about it, so I guess that's why those get so many views. But I would like to, you know, just kind of give my 2 cents as someone who's been going there for so many years, and it's something I've talked about so much on this channel. Regardless of it becoming popular or not, I was debating making this video for a few years because it's just an experience that I love, and I would love other people who enjoy the Halloween season as much as I do to experience it as well. So happy Halloween. I might do some more Halloween videos, maybe add some more horror movies to my horror movie tier list, which I know a lot of people didn't see. So if you want to, go check it out. I did over 100 horror movies from the silent era of the 1920s all the way to the modern era. I'd like to add a lot more to that, but we'll see. You know, there's only so many days in October, and there's just so much stuff to do. So have a great Halloween season regardless. Take care.